Do your favourite pub snacks make alcohol-free beer taste even better? We're about to find out. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, today I'm going to be asking a question that you've probably never thought to ask before, and that is, are alcohol-free beers made better by the introduction of your favourite pub and bar snacks? I'm talking peanuts, crisps, you know the thing, or chips for our friends in the US. And to do that, and to try and make it slightly scientific, I'm bringing in 4 different alcohol-free beers, the ones you see in front of me, against a range of pub snacks to try and work out for sure whether they really do make a difference. Why, you may be asking? I'll tell you why. In the comment thread of one of my videos, I believe it was the Guinness 0.0 review, someone said to me they tried one, they got what I meant by the fact that I quite liked it, I thought it was pretty good, but ultimately still tasted like an alcohol-free beer. Often the case, if we're honest. But a few moments later, they replied again, before I'd even had a chance to reply the first time, and said, you know what, I've just opened up a pack of cheese and onion crisps with these, and yeah, it's a whole lot better. It tastes like the real deal. And that got me thinking, is that just because the crisps have taken some of the kind of flavour receptors away from your tongue because they've been dominated by that cheese and onion thing and therefore taste good? Or is it the fact that it feels like you're in a pub setting there? You know, you're doing the normal thing that you would normally do with your proper pint, and that is what helps your brain get over these kind of the missing alcohol in effect. Or is it something different again? And I've got a theory, but to test that theory, and I'll tell you what it is a bit later, we need to do this proper test. So, 4 beers, 2 of which I've tried before, 2 of which I've never tried. You'll notice none of them is Guinness 0.0, and the reason for that is because I'm an idiot. Honestly, I wanted a Guinness 0.0 in this lineup, and I was absolutely convinced I had one left in my fridge at home when I went out to the shop to prep for this video, and I don't. So it's going to be 4 lagers, well, 3 lagers and a golden ale, one that I know is particularly good. The other thing about this is that I know 2 of these beers, the Lucky Saint and the Sierra Nevada Trail Pass Golden Ale, are very, very good alcohol-free beers. The other 2, a Corona and an Estrella, well, I don't know so much. I suspect at least one of them won't be, so this should be quite an interesting test. Before we start then, we need to get a baseline. What do all of these beers taste like? I'm just going to drink them out of the cans and bottles today because, well, frankly, there's going to be enough going on this bar as it is. So let's get these open. I'll give them a quick run through, sip of each, tell you which ones I think are particularly good or particularly bad, and that will hopefully help set a benchmark in terms of what we're expecting once we bring in those snacks. So first off, Corona 0.0. I'll be honest, I don't have high hopes. The regular one, well, it doesn't exactly taste of a lot, so if there's any off-tones as a result of it being 0.0, it's going to show pretty much straight away. So, cheers. Here it goes. Ooh. Okay, you know what? I nearly said, on the flip side, because the regular Corona is so, well, free of any discernible flavour, that actually it was feeling as good as the real thing, right up until the end. And on the end, you've got this weird, bitter, pithy, slightly potato starchy thing that we say about a lot of alcohol-free beers, and it is in there in, I'm not going to say abundance, but it's definitely noticeable. Let's give it another swig. Yeah, if that disappears when we introduce the snacks, we'll know we're on to something good. Right then, Lucky Saint. This one I know to be a particularly good alcohol-free lager. They are, of course, an alcohol-free specialist. This isn't a 0% version of something else, that it is its own thing. Instantly, more flavour, more hop note, definitely more malt. There is still a twang, a little bit of something that goes, this isn't the real deal, but it's much more intermingled with everything else. It doesn't wait till the end to spring it upon you. I do think the Lucky Saint is definitely better than the Corona, but I'll be honest, it's a closer match than I really thought. On to the Estrella. Cheers. Much sweeter than the other 2. It feels richer, it's fuller bodied, it's a better physical, tactile experience, but it's got more potato starch. It's really quite earthy somewhere in there, and it's not necessarily always that pleasant. It's not, again, the worst that I've ever had, but yeah, if these snacks can mask something, then it will be quite impressive if they get all of that completely sorted away. And finally, one that I know is fantastic. I will show you the can on this one. If you are in the market for some alcohol-free beer, this is not an ad. This is just one that I really genuinely do rate. Sierra Nevada's Trail Pass. They do 4 different ones. This is their golden ale. Let's give it another go. Cheers. Hoppy, fruity, some nice melon notes in there. None of that potato starchy nonsense from the others. It is, yeah, genuinely a very, very nice beer. So let us start off with the snacks. So there are going to be 6 different snacks put up against these, all with varying different amounts of flavour intensity, and we're starting off with the OG salted peanut. This one may start to prove if my theory about that Guinness Nort and the packet of crisps is correct. And when we get on to the first packet of crisps, which is next, I will tell you what that theory is. But yes, there's a packet of KP salted nuts. So let's give it a go. I'm going to do this semi-scientifically with just a small handful. They do taste like the real deal because, well, they are. First sip is improved. Second sip though, it's not stayed. It's back to a little bit of potato starchiness. It's mainly, there's a weird bitter twang at the end of that you don't get in normal Corona or any light lager really. It's definitely lost a little bit of that intense, depthy, starchy thing, but it's still not great. So, on to the Lucky Saint. Interestingly, first sip, still quite a bit of that potato starchy nature. It's really not masked it at all. Okay, so what we can say about the traditional peanut is it might help a little bit, but okay. So it helped the Corona. It's not perfect, but it helped it. It didn't do much for the Lucky Saint. It helped the Estrella about as much as the Corona. It's still a little bit kind of earthy, foggy on the back of the tongue, but it's not horrendous. Like, you wouldn't immediately pick up on it if you weren't looking for it. I mean, we can try it with the Trail Pass. Really, the Sierra Nevada is here just as a benchmark, just to make sure nothing weird happens, but it should be pretty good. Yeah, that still tastes absolutely fantastic. So, snack number 2. It is, of course, the good old ready salted crisp, or chip if you're in the US. As basic as you like. Walker's, it's the OG. I know a lot of pubs now do much fancier ones, but we're going old school with this particular test. So, my theory about that Guinness was, yes, food might mask some of the off tones, and yes, having that accompaniment might make you feel more like you're in a pub and just enjoying yourself as normal. But the thing that really kind of piqued my interest was the idea that maybe, just maybe, the addition of a potato starch, a legitimate one, would overpower and kind of, residually sit there on your palate to mask the starchy nature of an alcohol-free beer. So I guess now we're about to find out for sure. Now then, with the crisps, it is a little easier to do a scientific test. 2 medium-sized crisps per pour, I think. As expected, they taste almost of nothing. It's better. It isn't perfect, but it's better than it was with the peanut. So this theory might ring a little bit true. I'm wowed by this. The Lucky Saint, I would have said, is one of the best alcohol-free lagers that you can easily just go and buy. And it still tastes like potato starch despite the introduction of the crisp. So it's going to be interesting to see how much flavour we're going to have to get out of some other snacks before that becomes really quite palatable. I know that in this scenario I'm comparing it to other things, so it's more obvious, but well, it really is still there. Oh, that's interesting. So the Estrella was on the previous round with the peanut, very much level pegging with the impact from the Corona. That right now is fully palatable. The ready salted crisps will turn your alcohol-free Estrella into something like the genuine article. One massive crisp for this one. Interestingly, it's starting to feel like some of the nice, bright, fruity, hoppy notes in the Trail Pass are starting to diminish a little bit. Still fantastic, still brilliant, still the best beer here by a mile, but yeah, maybe the introduction of some snacks isn't showing this off in the best light, and that is, well, really a wild thing to say about an alcohol-free beer. Snack number 3, the crisp that started this entire theory. Cheese and onion from Walker's yet again. Let's get into it. They are good still. They are really good. Better again. Every time we go through, the Corona just improves incrementally. It's still got a tiny bit of cause for concern right on the back end, but at this point, I'm thinking most people probably aren't going to notice. Now then, the problem child. It's better, but it's still pretty poor. If I'm honest, I'm really surprised by this, but yeah, I'm still tasting this foggy, funky thing that's just not quite there. You know what? That Estrella has got slightly worse. Wild. So something about the salty, the extra salt from the ready salted crisps clearly was really helping with the Estrella. Cheese and onion, it's bringing back some potatoey tones, so maybe my theory is a little bit out of the window. And of course, the Sierra Nevada, which at this point is just a luxury for me. Brewed here again. Something about salt really quite heavily masks some tones in alcohol-free beer. Probably normal beer too, but they are overall, well, you're not really looking for it there, are you? So yes, I think cheese and onion for balance seems to be a better choice, but it has ruined some of the improvement that we made on the Estrella. Snack number 4, and it's time for some dry roasted peanuts. These are a much bigger flavour. If you've never had them, they're kind of roasty, toasty, almost spicy, but not quite. Like they're a thing unto themselves. A little bit more mighty perhaps, but yeah, this will be interesting. Here's an interesting one. The Corona, as with all other tests so far, has improved again in terms of diminishing that weird starchy flavour. But I like it less now after having had these, which I can't quite explain. Like, there's something just, I think it's just I'm not really tasting anything. Like, they've blasted all of it out, so maybe that little bit of negativity that does remain in there is all I'm tasting. I'm getting nothing else from it. But again, yes, it helps, but maybe doesn't improve your beer. Nope, dry roasted peanuts do not help. That is worse now than it's ever been, I think. That look is saying, I'm impressed at how bad it seems to be. Like, again, I would recommend it to people. I have done many times, but today, no, it's not doing it for me. And dry roasted peanuts, not the one you want to mask your alcohol-free beer with, I think is what we're learning. The Estrella kind of sitting the same as before, if I'm honest. It's not notably worse, but certainly not any better either. I am curious to see what happens now with the Sierra Nevada, given, well, how unimpressive the dry roasted peanuts have been so far. Okay, no worse, to be honest. It's still pretty damn good, but yes, dry roasted peanuts, don't bother with your alcohol-free beer. 2 more snacks left to go then. The last one is the saving grace of all pub snacks. If that can't do it, nothing can. But before that, the last in the trilogy of the classic crisp flavours, it is of course salt and vinegar. Given how the ready salted definitely improved the majority of the beers, then I'm expecting this to do the same and some, because it's going to use the salt in the same way, then also that vinegar is pretty pokey and should help mask a few other bits, but let us find out. zingy. I'll be honest, about the same as the ready salted. The salt's doing a lot of the work. The vinegar gets washed away almost instantly. There's no notable difference for me in terms of the flavour of the beer after having that addition. Still garbage. I'm sorry. It's still really bad. Well, it's got one hope left, let's say that much. Much like with the ready salted, the Estrella, yeah, pretty good. Again, pretty good. And finally, that is a good pairing. The vinegar actually adds something kind of, I don't know, they almost cancel each other out a little bit, because this is quite a hoppy golden ale to, I guess, mask and try and embolden the flavour of an alcohol-free beer. And, well, if you're a hophead, you're going to love it. For me, it's nice, but I would prefer it just a little bit drawn back. And yeah, somehow the salt and vinegar crisp helps really balance that off pretty well. So, interesting turn of events there. Yeah, the trail pass, definitely improved by the existence of salt and vinegar crisps. It is time for the best pub snack of all time. It is, of course, pork scratchings, or pork rinds again if you are from the US. But yes, little bits of basically fried pig skin, which I know a lot of people don't like, but they are the ultimate snack. I'm sorry. And if anything has the ability, because the amount of salt plus the fat plus the strong flavour, to help you enjoy what otherwise might be a pretty lame alcohol-free beer. I'm not saying all alcohol-free beers are pretty lame, but let's be honest, a lot of the stuff available in our pubs isn't great. These might just help you along your way, although may not help you with your health kick if that's why you're on the alcohol-free beer. But anyway, let us do the test. These pork scratchings are absolutely massive. Take a look at those. Look at that. Right, cheers. Okay, yes. The Corona, as good as it's been. Is it perfect? Well, it's not going to be perfect because there's no real flavour, but the off-tone has left the building. Pretty much entirely. You might be, on that second sip, just a smidgen left, but your first sip after a pork scratching, yeah, pretty much as good as a Corona has ever been in my experience. So, pork scratchings were worth saving till the end. So, can it now solve the problem? Should probably get a bigger one. Can it solve the problem of this very potatoey Lucky Saint? So close, so close. It's not quite there. It still has a little bit of, again, I've said it a lot now, that starchy, potatoey off note, but that is as close as we've gotten. Salt and fat as a combo, yeah, really definitely seeming to help. I'm pretty sure with one of these, the Estrella is going to be absolutely fine. Yes it is. And finally, again, purely just for my own enjoyment, the Trail Pass. Brings out a few different flavours, masks off a few others. I'm not going to say it's better. I still think this, with the salt and vinegar crisps, is ace, but yeah, certainly hasn't done it any harm. So what have we learned? Well, yes, eating snacks with your alcohol-free beer absolutely can help improve the taste, the sensation, the experience. Undoubtedly, they all got better. What snacks to use? Salty ones, really salty. I reckon some highly salted pretzels would be pretty good, and if not, your salt and vinegar, your ready salted, your pork scratchings are a fine shout. Interesting that the salted peanuts didn't quite give off the same thing as the ones we did first, and they were better, but certainly everything else was better than they were, with the exception of your dry roasted. So peanuts maybe not the ones to go for, but on the whole a pretty interesting test. I think I now know when I go to a pub and I'm driving and I have an alcohol-free beer, what I need to accompany that to make sure it's just a slightly better experience is a properly salty snack. And I think we can refer to this endeavour as pub science. Is there any more interesting oddities about the pub experience that you'd like me to research and try and work out if it's really true, why it's true, and what you should be doing? Let me know in the comments below. And have you already discovered this phenomenon? Because I can't be the first person to think of it, because, well, let's be honest, someone else must have been sat in a pub with one of these, then got a snack and gone, oh, suddenly it's a bit better. If I were to rank these beers, I think it's pretty obvious, but basically we're just going like that. The Lucky Saint in this particular instance really wasn't all that. It is a slightly older can, is it? I'm pretty sure it's still in date, but yeah, but only just, so that could have something to do with it. The others are a little bit fresher, but the Corona's just bland, it's Corona. The Estrella's not bad, but definitely a bit potatoey without anything else. And that Sierra Nevada Trail Pass is absolutely fantastic. I think that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.